Okay, in this problem, we are proving angles are congruent. We're given this image right here that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different angles on it. And we are given, just like in most proofs, we're given a statement of angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. So we are told that we know this angle is the exact same measure as that angle. Okay, I like to mark it on the image right away. That's going to help me in the long run just to see some things. So we are trying to prove angle 6 and angle 4, that these two angles are congruent. How can we prove that? Well, first thing you're always going to start with in your statements, this is a 2-column proof. We call it a 2-column proof because we have 1, 2 columns. We have our statements, and then we have our reasons. Okay, we have to be able to explain why we're stating what it is that we're saying. Now in this particular problem, I just have some blanks here and you need to fill them out. Sometimes they'll be completely empty and you need to explain what you're doing throughout the process. But for this first video with proofs, let's just see if we can fill in what's missing. Okay, so angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. First one's always a piece of cake, it's given. We were told that, so we don't need a reason for that other than the fact that someone told it to us. Now that we're told this, we need to go one step further. Now, I'm trying to prove that angle 6 is congruent to angle 4, so I'm trying to figure out what can I do next, or what can I figure out about angle 6. Now, when I look at this image, the fact that I marked right there is helpful to me because I know when I see this angle and this angle, we have a specific name for those angles in math. Okay, angles that are opposite of each other like this, those are called vertical angles. And what I can say about vertical angles is that they are congruent. We know that. That is a law. That is a rule. All vertical angles are congruent. Therefore, I know 3 and 6 are congruent because, well, all vertical angles in math are congruent. That's just how it is. Okay, if someone wants to argue with you, just say, sorry, nope, they're vertical angles. That's a fact. Okay, they have to be the same. Now, down here, we're looking at a reason, and we're trying to figure out what is that reasoning for. Okay, so if I know angle 6 and angle 3 are congruent, I can then transition, okay, I can transition what information down. Now, we're trying to figure out some things about 4 and 6. Okay, so what could I transition? I can now say that angle 1 is congruent to, well, if angle 1 is congruent to angle 3, and 3 and 6 are the same, wouldn't angle 1 also be congruent to angle 6? Yeah, think of 3 and 6 as exactly the same angles. If 1 is the same as 3, 1 will also be the same as 6 because 3 and 6 are no different than one another. Remember, we knew that because they are vertical angles. Okay, so next, now that we know angle 1 is equal to angle 3, 3 is equal to 6 because they were vertical angles, 1 is equal to 6 because of the transitive property, which means we can just transition one piece of information in. We knew this, so we just transitioned that right up there. Okay. Now we're saying angle 1 is equal to angle 4. Let's look at our picture. Is there anything over here telling me angle 1 is equal to angle 4? No. But when I look at my picture, angle 1 and angle 4 are opposite of one another. We call those vertical angles. And what do we know about vertical angles? Vertical angles are congruent. Remember, we know this. This is a fact. So I don't need anything other than the proof of the picture. The proof is in the pudding, or the proof is in the picture. That's what's telling me that those angles are the same. Okay? So the thing about proofs, sometimes you have to base it off of what you're told over here. Sometimes you have to find some information and base it off of what you're seeing in the image. Use your image, though. That is the biggest thing that I see students do. They don't mark on here. I'd like to mark this up and say, hey, we know this about those. And sometimes it's even helpful to mark everything you know in the picture first and foremost. It will help you come up with what's the next step I should write down. Have I mentioned anything in here that might be helpful to get me to the final proof? Okay, and then last but not least, angle 6 is congruent to angle 4. How do we know that? Well, we know that if angle 1 and angle 6 are the same, okay, and 1 is congruent to 4, then because 6 is the same as 1, 6 is congruent to 4. Okay, again, that is the transitive property. We're just transitioning or moving angle 6, which we know is 1. We're taking that and we're putting it right there where that angle 1 was to say the same thing. Okay, so the transitive property of congruence. All right, so given angle 1 and angle 3 are the same, we are able to go through these steps to prove that angle 6 and angle 4 are congruent as well. Hopefully this helps. Study hard. Proofs are not easy, but the more and more you do them, the more and more you get to, the reasoning is the tricky part, really. Okay, a lot of times kids will fill this out, they'll know what they need to show, but just explaining it can be tough. So you got to get some practice in it. You got to do a bunch of them. Once you get the hang of it, it starts to make sense. Study hard and good luck on your upcoming test.